Hi, my name is Wasfiya Sheikh and I'm a journalist at Soch Videos. It's been 75 years since the partition of the subcontinent happened. To mark this day, Team Soch decided to interview two students from both sides of the border to find out what they have been taught in their history textbooks about the partition. We have Hania from Pakistan and we have Purvi who has joined us all the way from India. Let's start the conversation.
Partition of colonial India into two separate religious states.
That we have to face momentous decisions.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
Pakistan, with 100 million Muslims, is created as a counterpart to India with 300 million Hindus. Gandhi calls the partition a disaster.
Hi Hania, hi Purvi, how are you both?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Hi Purvi, how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm good too. It's good to have you on board all the way from India. So Purvi, my first question to you is, why did the partition take place? What is written in your history textbooks about the partition?
Ma'am, in our history textbooks, मतलब उनमें ऐसा लिखा हुआ है कि Britishers caused the partition to happen. And Muslims also wanted a separate nation, so the partition took place. And Britishers चाहते थे कि India should separate before, मतलब India and Pakistan should separate before the independence. That was the condition for the independence. कि अगर partition नहीं होगा तो वो independence नहीं देंगे. That is why the partition took place.
Okay, Hania, what about you? How is partition mentioned in your history book? Why did Muslims find the need to have a separate nation for themselves?
Okay, in our books, it is mentioned that Muslims are the one who initiated the idea of partition, and in fact, Britishers did not want that. What's particularly emphasized upon is, I think there were about like a couple of years in which the Indian National Congress was in power in Pakistan, in India. And those years, that is when the two-nation theory or the Pakistan resolution, basically the idea that Pakistan and India should be separate states, was really solidified, because in that time, Hindus were really, really oppressive towards Muslims. They used to mock them, they used to not let them practice religion fully, they used to do a lot of, like, they had like songs that would mock Muslims. They would go in front of masjids and they would play music over there. They would burn down masjids. So yeah.
My next question to Hania, you is, what impression of Gandhi do you have after reading history?
So in our books, Gandhi is described as someone who, compared to the other members of the Indian National Congress, he was more willing to communicate with the Muslims, hear them out, and it is shown that Jinnah and Gandhi had great regards for each other. You can even see that from the Gandhi-Jinnah talks. They were the ones who were willing to sit down and talk with each other. And Gandhi is described as someone who was a humanitarian, who stood for humans before all. The only negative that I can think of that was written about Gandhi was that during the Congress rule that I was previously talking about, there was the Varda scheme in which in schools, a picture of Gandhi would be hung up and Muslim students, all students would be expected to bow down in front of it. And in Islam, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to bow down in front of another person. So I think that's the only thing that I can think of. Other than that, it was a good impression.
मैम, जिन्ना के बारे में मतलब हमारे टेक्स्ट बुक्स में ज्यादा पोर्शन, जैसे मैंने बताया था, मेंशन नहीं है. बस इतना मेंशन है कि गांधी और जिन्ना के बहुत अच्छे रिलेशंस थे. जिन्ना वांटेड अ सेपरेट नेशन एंड फर्स्ट ही गॉट सेपरेटेड फ्रॉम इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस. जिन्ना के बारे में इतना कुछ दिया नहीं है, बट मेन यही दिया है कि वो एक पार्ट थे इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस का, और फिर वो सेपरेट होकर उन्होंने अपनी अलग पार्टी बनाई, और वो चाहते थे कि पार्टीशन हो. ठीक है. और गांधी जी अपोज करते थे इस चीज को. ओनली हिंदूज वर नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द पार्टीशन, एंड आई थिंक जिन्ना वांटेड दैट because अलग-अलग religions still exist in India, but he wanted that to happen, so it happened.
My next question to you both is, how is violence talked about in your textbooks? Violence pre-partition, post-partition, and during the partition. Any event that stood out for you both that is discussed in your history book?
Ma'am, in our history books, partition के बारे में मतलब ऐसा लिखा हुआ है कि जब पार्टीशन हुआ था उस टाइम पे जो ट्रेन वाला जो इवेंट था वो मतलब बहुत ही बुरा हुआ था, सबसे मेजर इवेंट था वो उस टाइम का, कि दोनों तरफ से जब जो ट्रेन आई थी उनमें कॉर्प्सेस थे, लाशें थी पूरी, दोनों तरफ से जब ट्रेन आई थी, इंडिया टू पाकिस्तान ट्रेन। और मतलब अब जहां पर हम पैदा हुए, जहां पर हमारा बर्थ हुआ है, वहां से सेपरेट होना बहुत मुश्किल होता है। चाहे कोई भी हो, हिंदू हो, मुस्लिम हो, इंडियन, पाकिस्तानी, कोई भी हो, बट आप जहां पर पैदा हो वहां से सेपरेट होना मुश्किल है। तो पार्टीशन के टाइम पर एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाना बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था, तो वो मेन कॉज ऑफ वायलेंस था अकॉर्डिंग टू आवर टेक्स्ट बुक्स। और दोनों तरफ से बराबर वायलेंस था। जब यहाँ से वहां ट्रेन गई तो उसमें भी बहुत मतलब वायलेंस हुआ था, और जब वहां से यहाँ ट्रेन आई थी तो उसमें भी पूरे कॉर्प्सेस थे।
हमारी बुक्स में ऐसा लिखा है कि मुस्लिम और हिंदूज दोनों के बीच में, दोनों की तरफ से वायलेंस थी एंड एट्रोसिटीज हुई थी दोनों के अगेंस्ट कमिट। बट हमारे बुक में जो एक चीज मेंशन है वो ये है कि जो नॉन मुस्लिम प्रिंसली स्टेट्स थे इंडिया के, उनमें स्टेट ट्रूप्स थे, दे had organized violence. They basically perpetrated organized violence against Muslims. And जो Hindus and Sikhs थे, उनकी schemes थी where they massacred Muslims. So there's also stat के about 1 million Muslims died during partition.
Do you think it's good for us to expose ourselves to the other version of history that is being taught on the other side of the border?
I think, of course, that everyone should open themselves up to different versions of history, because every जो जिस position में होगा उसका अपना perspective है उस चीज का. If you want to get the full picture of anything, you have to consider all perspectives of it. So I think that that's definitely very important.
All right, Purvi, what about you?
I agree with Hania because it is important. मतलब एक country की जो history होती है वो उनके हिसाब से लिखी हुई होती है, उनके पर्सपेक्टिव के हिसाब से लिखी होती है। तो अगर अलग अलग कंट्रीज के आप हिस्ट्री पढ़ेंगे तो उस हिसाब से फिर आपको इक्वल जो रियल पिक्चर है वो आपको देखने को मिलेगी। तो इट्स गुड, वी शुड रीड द हिस्ट्री ऑफ अदर कंट्रीज एज वेल।
Purvi, it's good to have you on board all the way from India.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And yeah, the idea of this video was to expose ourselves, all the people and the students, to different dominant narratives of a shared past that we are taught. And thank you again. Hope that this video can help us in creating more dialogue about the partition and the history and what we have been taught in schools.